it just got even more ridiculous for Lane Hutson as he's been racking up points like no man's business on the power play with the help of Patrik Laine, and his play now has put him on historic pace among some of the great NHL defensemen, but also at a pace compared to other NHL rookies this year and last year that is completely, utterly ridiculous. We have to show you all these insane things with Lane Hutson, but it's not just him we got to talk about today, Jesse. Jake Evans speaks out on contract negotiation talks as apparently talks are all crickets right now. We also got a great note on Emil Heineman. There was a bunch of awesome stuff coming up on this episode of Habs Digest, and I want to start, Jesse, with our boy Emil Heineman. Now, he's been a guy that Habs fans have really been rallying behind, and not Jake Evans. We'll get to him later. I want to show you Emil Heineman. Now, this graphic does double as a Lane Hutson graphic, as we'll get into a bit later. But Emil Heineman, as you can see, is 6th among all rookies in points. Not to mention, he's 3rd among all rookies in goals. Insane. This is completely unprecedented for Emil Heineman. We knew he was pretty good, Jesse, but when you put him in the ranks of the other rookies in the league, I feel like even Habs fans are sleeping on how good he's been for how little playing time he gets, just over 10 minutes a night.
Still technically a rookie, and Kent Hughes is looking very smart with this trade because he specifically kind of targeted this player. He said he's got a great shot. Kent Hughes is looking very smart for this one. But again, it's more than just a shot. It's that kind of that reliability. It's that forechecking, that he's bringing that physical play, right? But what I love is like that he's primarily a goal scorer, Josh. Mm-hmm. And this is held true like throughout his career, whether it's in, Sweden, whether it's in the AHL. Like this guy is primarily a goal scorer, something that the Montreal Canadiens needed more than anything else. They had that playmaking, but especially in their bottom 6, really getting a little bit more of that scoring threat. So he just continues, right? Like we saw in last night's game, like that was from some distance that he scored from. Like this guy is such a good shot that he can kind of let it rip from some places on the ice that not everybody can, giving him that much more opportunity to score. But like him being consistent, especially like the physical game, that aspect of his game just lends me to think that this could be something that's actually sustainable for him as being just a really effective hockey player.
Honestly, the whole Habs bottom 6 deserves a shout out. And I'm seeing that a bit over social media recently, but my gosh, the effectiveness of guys like Evans, who we'll talk about in a second, Heineman, even Dvorak recently has bounced back. He's gained the hearts of Habs fans a little bit again. Josh Anderson, Brendan Gallagher, there's been so much good stuff, but one thing you got to say, like you mentioned, Jesse, his heart, his effort every single night is always there. And for a guy who's getting those bottom 6 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes a night, the dude is producing among some of the top NHL rookies, like a Stankoven, who's getting a lot more ice time, like a Siplakov, who's in his mid-20s coming over from Russia, Celebrini, the number 1 pick, Lane Hutson himself, and Matvei Michkov. So many highly touted guys, and those are the only guys ahead of Heineman, so just had to shout that out. That Toffoli trade, Jesse, continues to pay dividends. But we're going to move on to, like we said, another one of these bottom 6 guys, and that's Jake Evans. And this comes from Eric Engels. There's a great article to go along with this that I'll link down below. But Jake Evans said it's still crickets when asked about contract negotiation. You have to think that might come soon. Even with promising young centers coming, his role is one typically filled by a veteran, and his value to the Canadiens is patently obvious. And I think this is a great point, Jesse. There's a lot of discussion that needs to be had when we're talking here about Jake Evans. The dude is on pace to shatter his career highs in goals and points, and he's the most used forward on the penalty kill in the NHL this season by a wide margin. He's one of these guys that is so valuable to Montreal right now and moving forward. Yes, we have guys like Beck and Kaiden coming up through the ranks, but I don't think at this point, like it'd take them years, just like it took Evans years to acclimate to the NHL game and be able to play defensively at the level that he does, especially on the PK. I know we were kind of maybe at some point on board with trading him to get something back, get some assets back, but right now, I mean, look, I've always wanted him to stick around long-term for Montreal, but I think that the circumstances have changed.
Yeah, I have said that I would be a fan of keeping him, that yes. I do see the sense in trading him, but like, do we really want to be trading our 4C, potentially our 3C, when we don't even know who our 2C of the future is yet? Is that something that Kent Hughes wants to do? I think we want to be dealing with some things we know a little bit more. We want that picture of this team kind of come up into a little bit more clarity instead of kind of disappearing in front of our eyes kind of once again there. So what Jake Evans is doing though is he's forcing Kent Hughes' plan, because Josh, this wasn't part of the deal. They maybe said, okay, if Jake Evans has an incredible season, we'll sign him. But I think it was like, if they don't see something incredible, that this wasn't going to be the case. But again, this 19 points in these 33 games, besides playing so well defensively, is really forcing the Montreal Canadiens' hand. Again, we bring up, that center depth, which I think is really important, Josh. Another big thing, though, a strength for this team this year has been the special teams.
Yes.
And the fact that having a vet at us on the penalty kill is so big, because what kind of complicates the situation is, again, Owen Beck. And I love Owen Beck and Oliver Kapanen as well. But, in this article by Eric Engels, it's a solid point that he brings up of like having the vets honestly on your penalty kill do help so much. And I can't help but really agree with that. Josh, you bring up a solid point though. Like, we're just being pragmatic, knowing what we have. Like, Owen Beck really translates very well. I'd make a solid bet that he's going to be that 4C, but it's just, when does it come? It could be next year, but it could be a little bit longer. That's definitely what complicates things a little bit. As I've said before on this pod, like, if, Owen Beck and Kapanen aren't so good, like, you're kind of like, for sure in that case, then maybe it's like, okay, you're just getting rid of Evans for sure. But at the same time, it's like, I think a little bit of caution here. Just, we know that center depth, we want to secure that a little bit more first.
Yeah, like, and Dvorak has also stepped up a little bit as well alongside Evans. And so, and even other like wingers, like Armia has been great on the penalty kill. But like all three of Dvorak, Evans, and Armia are UFAs. They're the three veterans. Two of them are centers who are often out there in these like high danger face-off times, right? Whether it's on the PK or in your own zone with the other team with an empty net. Like, these are the guys you're putting out there, and you're going to lose some. And right now, one of Montreal's biggest problems, especially defensively with the defensemen, has been the youth, the inexperience a lot of the times to cover the right areas, to make big plays in the right moments. And you think you make a great point, getting rid of a veteran who does that, and probably getting rid of three guys who are all very solid at doing that, is a big risk. So I'm all down for these contract negotiations. Who knows how much he'll get? I'm seeing that $3.75 million number getting thrown around for 3 or 4 seasons. Wouldn't mind that, but let us know what you guys think about Jake Evans down below. I think we've seen enough right now that he is that one guy of all our UFAs that we should probably go after. Circumstances have changed. But final thing I want to talk about, Jesse, speaking of, well, it's not even speaking of changing circumstances. This is just like the eternal Lane Hutson. I mean, this guy's absolutely unreal. We'll flash up his stats. I mean, we all know what his stats are. He's got 25 points in 33 games, 1 goal, 24 assists. We mentioned in our post game yesterday how he's on pace to be like, what, tied with Ray Bourque and Brian Leetch for their points. He's the second place all time for most assists in a defenseman's first 35 games in his career, only behind Larry Murphy. Second all time in NHL history for a defenseman's first 35 games in assists. But that's not the only thing we got to talk about here, Jesse. We got to talk about the rookie scoring leaders. We'll flash the same graphic up. He's 2 points back of the rookie scoring lead as a defenseman. But it doesn't stop there. Lane Hutson has 25 points, as we keep saying over and over again. Here's the list of rookie defensemen in the NHL. The difference between Lane Hutson in second place is 25-6. Nolan Allen in Chicago has 6 points. He's in second place. Insane. Finally, Lane Hutson is tied for 9th among all NHL defensemen, Jesse, in points. Tied for 9th in the whole NHL for defensemen as a rookie. There's another stat I'm going to show in a minute, but I just feel like at this point, I know we talk about him all the time, but what he's doing right now, even when he has a bad game, like a couple games ago at Detroit, he still gets a point and he still puts his name at the top of these lists.
That's because he is just like such a student of the game. Like, if there's one thing we can say about Lane Hutson, he doesn't quite strike you as a party animal, per se. Like, this is somebody who takes his craft seriously, like, night in, night out. Like, this guy's studying the game. He's thinking, okay, what did I need to do better? What do I need to improve on? Okay, these are the things that have worked that I really want to develop on. And that's why we're seeing all these historic things, like the comparisons to Brian Leetch that went on in the NCAA is now continuing in the NHL. He's now proving to still be on par, on that same tier as a Brian Leetch was when he was starting off his career. Like, this is absolutely unreal. So if we're saying that he is only the second, like, he has the second most points in his first 35 games, that means he had more points, more assists in his first 35 games than a Chris Chelios, then a Cale Makar, then an Adam Fox. Like, the list, just like, we need to think of the implications of that, of what that means. Like, we're not just talking about a PK Subban here. We're talking about the very best in the NHL as a whole. We're, third in the entire league in puck possession. Like, he just loves to have the puck on a skit, loves the biscuit, loves making stuff happen with it. And I think that that's just the interesting thing, right? Like, his ability just to prolong plays in the offensive zone and that creativity, like just such calm under fire, those little backhand chippers, like no sticks ever kind of deter Lane Hutson from doing what he wants to do on the ice. He's just looking like a total wizard out there.
It's unbelievable to watch him play. And does he still make rookie mistakes? Yeah, it'd be ridiculous if he didn't. Every single rookie, especially offensive style defensemen, have a lot of mistakes. You can find some for Quinn Hughes. You can find some for Cale Makar, Adam Fox, whoever you want to look at. I'm sure you could find some for Brian Leetch. It's been insane what the Lane train's been able to do. The reins he's been given, forcing himself onto the Habs power play 25 games into the season over a guy in Mike Matheson who had 62 points last year. Like, it's mind-blowing. You're very right when you think about the implications of this. And there's one more little graphic I wanted to show everyone. So, we're talking about Lane Hutson. Of course, as we just saw, he's right there near the top of rookie scoring. Celebrini's creeping up behind him, but Lane Hutson's just behind Matvei Michkov right now. Great, fantastic. Well, we know last year, right, there was a big Rookie of the Year race. It was between Brock Faber, a little bit Luke Hughes, and Connor Bedard. So, how did the defenseman there, like a Brock Faber, who people are like, oh my gosh, he's so amazing. How does Lane Hutson compare it with those numbers? Well, Lane Hutson has 25 points in 33 games. That's a 62-point pace over an 82-game season. So keep that number 62 in mind. Because when I show you last year's rookie scoring leaders, that would have led all rookies last season in points. Not just defensemen. He would have had more points than Connor Bedard. Bedard missed 14 games. Obviously, it was impressive, but that's still insane that Lane Hutson would have led if he stays at this pace, which he may not. With Laine, who knows? He might actually increase his pace. But Brock Faber and Luke Hughes both had 47 points in 82 games. Lane Hutson's on a 62-point pace over 82 games. That's where this context gets even crazier. Not only are we already comparing him to NHL greats, which, to be fair, is starting to get a bit of a high standard. Like, I know he's amazing. I'm not saying he's going to be this or going to be that. He's going to be a 10-time...
Oh, he will.
Well, he probably will. He'll probably be amazing. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. He already is. But, like, when you're looking at pretty much every metric, Jesse, is saying this dude is an absolute, basically, superstar offensively. And, I don't know. He still gets doubted.
He does, despite being, as you just mentioned, we need to say this again. He's on track right now to get more points than Connor Bedard last year. And we know the fanfare that Connor Bedard got, right? Like, this is, as a defenseman, with all the added responsibilities, and not just having those responsibilities, excelling at them. How? I'm still not fully sure how, but a lot of it has to do with his work ethic and all, what he kind of puts in beyond the scenes, to really make it happen. Obviously, a phenomenal athlete, somebody that takes his craft extremely seriously. Like, this is absolutely unreal what he's doing. And the fact is like, we haven't even seen the best. Like, his goal scoring, like, he's got that one goal. Mm-hmm. He's going to find a way to do that a lot more. That's going to convert into a lot more points. That's going to make him more dangerous. They're going to fear that shot. We know what he can do when you start respecting his shot. He's going to start dishing off the puck, for more assists from there. So he's just really getting started here. And I think that's the crazier thing, where he's putting not just other defensemen, rookies or not, like just any other NHL rookies, any other players in the NHL just on notice right now that he's come to look and be one of the absolute best in this game. Mark my words.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to watch him play. And like, he has one goal. I bet his expected goals are higher. I haven't actually checked it, but like, he's had a few posts. He's been very close to scoring a couple of markers as well. So we're just going to have to wait and see what's to come next. But already, this dude's outpacing basically every hater's projection of him. They're getting mad. He scores a point every single day. He's found the automatic point farm, Jesse, by just being on the power play with Patrick Laine. Don't think that's going to stop. It's government-mandated Patrick Laine power play goals every single game, 8 and 9 games. First player ever to score 8 consecutive goals on the power play. Anyway, just like, and that's in NHL history, in case you guys didn't know. Some insane stuff is going on for the Habs right now. That'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. I'm sure you guys have a lot of thoughts, and we'd love to see them shared down below. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.